Howdy, howdy, Civil here, and welcome to our primer video on the next set of unit testing that I'm going to be doing for infantry in Total War Warhammer. Now, I've already got the videos for the best units of 400 gold and under. Now I'm going to go from 401 gold to 600 gold, and we're going to expand sort of the scope of how I do the test. Now, before I get started and go over the details, this is a detailed video. This is background information. If you're just interested in the results, this is not the video for you. You're going to find it very boring, very quick, and you may have already left. That's okay. We're going to have for you the results in another video. This is for the people that want to understand how I've done the testing. They want to understand exactly how I've done the analysis so they can get this. Now, when I go over any kind of analysis is not the end all and be all. All analysis, as objective as you try to make it, is always subjective in just the very nature of what you chose to analyze and how you chose to analyze it. So, but you try and do your best to make something as reasonable as possible, even though it is subjective. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm actually, instead of like the first set, I only tested against one unit, and that was the basic dwarf warrior, because I want to accomplish two goals. I want to know more about the Daoi, which I love, so I want to test as much as I can with the Daoi, and I also want to actually try and evaluate and use the tool in the spreadsheet that I have built to make a proper evaluation of very good units. So the two units I've chosen is I want to have a unit that's going to beat all of the units from 401 gold to 600 gold, and that is going to be the basic Longbeard. Longbeards are the gold standard for defensive one-handed shielded infantry. They are the gold standard, and so they're going to be the top. They're going to be the one that everything loses to, and then I want to see how fast these units from 401 to 600 gold can clear trash. So I decided to pick, I was going to pick miners, but I decided to pick clan rats. So clan rats have very low armor, they don't have very great stats, and they have very low leadership. How fast can they be cleared out by these units? So really I want to look at how long these units can last in a prolonged battle with Longbeards, and then I want to also look at how long they can clear out clan rats. And we know from our testing in our last time that clan rats were 8 out of the 31 units, 8 out of 29 units. When we had the patch come in and their cost lowered from 325 to 300, they've now gone up to number 3. So they're the third best unit, infantry unit in under 400 gold. So they're only at 300. So we're going to see how they actually perform in this fight. They should perform really well. If our testing was run correctly, clan rats should do well. They should actually perform a positive gold, even though Skaven slaves were number 1. But you know, I don't want this test to be too short. I want them to be a little bit longer so I can get better data, and that's the reason I took clan rats. So we're going to go over to the spreadsheet, and actually first I'm going to go over the units that I tested. So I'm looking at against clan rats and against Longbeards. Basically, we have two Beastmen units, Goreherd and Goreherd with shields at 550 and 600. We have Bretonnia has 2, but they have men-at-arms and battle pilgrims. Chaos, this is the Chaos Warriors, have the Chaos Marauders with great weapons and aspiring champions. Dark Elves have 2 units in here, Bleak Swords and Dread Spears. The Dwarfs, the Daoi, have basic Dwarf Warriors and Dwarf Warriors with great weapons. And I've always said basic Dwarf Warriors are a very good unit, and we'll see what the testing shows there. We have Empire has their Flagellants. Greenskins have a lot in this category. This is sort of the heart of the Greenskin roster in terms of low tier infantry, and they're the start of mid tier infantry. They have Night Goblin Fanatics, Orc Boys, Nasty Skulkers, and Savage Orcs. All interesting units. High Elves have their first entry into this testing, which is their Spearmen at 500. Interestingly, Lizardmen have nothing in here. So Lizardmen have a huge gap in their infantry lineup. They have Skinks at 300, and then their next they have 750, which is Saurus Warriors. Next we have Norska has Marauder Spearmen and Marauders with great weapons. Skaven also interestingly have nothing. Now Skaven dominate. They were number 1 and number 3, and the under 400 gold, they dominate that really cheap infantry, and they should. They have the slaves and the clan rats. That's what they're known for, being a horde faction, and they should actually dominate that category, and they do. But they have nothing between 401 and 600 gold in terms of infantry. Now, Tomb Kings have just the Nehakar Warriors at 575. The Vampire Coast actually has, let's go here. Vampire Coast has nothing. Nothing at all at that 401 to 600 gold. The Vampire Counts have Crypt Ghouls, and the Wood Elves have 3 entries. So they had no entries in 400 gold and under. They have 3 entries here. That is the Eternal Guard, Dryads, and Eternal Guard with shields. Now I'm going to go over all the data. Now, if someone really wants to go over and plow through all the data, they can figure out what the end is going to be, but I want to show you how this data works. So basically, what I do, well, first of all, I'm going to show you how I run the test, and then I'm going to go over the data. So the mods I have are this choose any general, and of course unit testing field, so I can have a small testing field, and I can test exactly the units I want to do one-on-one. So we start the battle, and basically I want to make the testing as repeatable as possible. I want anybody to be able to repeat this, and I want to be able to repeat this testing 2 years down the road if I want. So I never move the units. Well, it's some testing I do, but for this basic testing I don't move the units. I just select them, take guard mode off for whatever reason, and then I hit start battle and click go. And then when the battle goes, they will right there make contact at 59:49. I record that time, and then I let them fight. So I know when the battle started, and I'll let them fight. Maybe it'll be 3 minutes, however long it is. When one unit routs, that's when I stop. And then I will take the time again to find out how long the battle took. I'll take the actual health of each unit, 5,608 in this case, and 5,833, and I'll put that into the data. So when I go over here and I look at this test, okay, this battle started at 59 minutes 50 seconds. It ended at 57 minutes 3 seconds, and it lasted for 167 seconds between the Longbirds and the Goreherd with shield. That over all the 5 battles, you test multiple times. It lasted on average 170 seconds. I did the test 11, 19, 18 just for curiosity's sake. Then I look at the end hit points of each, and so I can get an actual DPS or damage per second done by each unit. So the Longbeards did an average of 34.1 DPS to the Goreherds 14.5 to the Longbeards. Then to get this gold differential, what I do is I take the starting hit points divided by the ending hit points multiplied by their original cost, and do that with the other unit and subtract them. So in this case, the Longbeards gained 212 gold, on average 193 gold every time they fight the Goreherd with shields. They gain 193 gold, so that is very profitable. If you can get your Longbeards against the Goreherds with shields in any fight, it will be very profitable for you, and you will do very well. The other measurement I have in here is gold per minute, which is how fast does it take to get, like how much gold per minute. You're getting 68 gold per minute. And this helps discern the difference between units that kill really fast and units that kill really slow. And then I look at a gold ratio. Now this is something that's just a way to compare different disparate units, and I say how much gold did I pay, 650, to get that 193. So I get a gold ratio, and then of course I look at the win-loss ratio. So I'm going to kind of page down, because basically I looked at Longbeards in all these fights. And I mean, if you want to pause and look at some of these, you can. And then I also looked at clan rats. So clan rats here I have versus men-at-arms with polearms. I looked at the battle time, and the clan rats should lose every battle, but we're looking at how fast can the men-at-arms with polearms kill. And we'll just go down. I think I ended up having, there we go, 493. I had 23 tests for the 23 units to test. So I did 5 tests each with the Longbeards and 5 tests each with the clan rats. So that's 46 tests times 5, I think, is 230 tests total to get this data, which I think makes it a little bit more accurate than the last set of tests we did. And we go back, see defeat, all right. And this is basically how I ran all the tests. I just looked at that data, wrote it down, looked at the time, got the DPS. So this way I can actually try and compare one unit to another unit in a meaningful way. That just isn't, because, you see in the testing we did, because I'm trying to look at the value of a unit, not just how powerful it is. If I wanted to look at how powerful a unit was, I would just go say, okay, Chosen are the most powerful infantry. This is true. What I want to look at is value, and that's why Skaven Slaves turned out to be the number 1, and Clan Rats turned out to be number 3 in the last set of testing, even though they only cost 125 and 300, because they can pull a lot of value in this types of testing, so you can see how these units actually interact. Because ultimately, what multiplayer is about in choosing your armies is not just choosing the right armies, but when you fight, trying to get the right matchup. So when you see these great players talk about trying to get the matchups they want, what they're in essence are doing are winning on the value side of the proposition, because you only start with 12,400 gold. And if every one of your units can have a positive gold differential when they fight the opposition units, you just win. That's just how it works. What you're essentially doing is you're paying 650 gold for the performance of these Longbeards, and so it's a finite equation. Now, of course, analyzing one unit at a time doesn't give you all the information. You have to look at units in context of the other units in your army, in context of the faction that you're facing, in the context of their build, in context of terrain, in context of how you play, in context of how your opponent plays. There's a lot of things, but at the very base level, this is just a one way to give us a little more information, a little more insight to which units function in which way and how they function correctly. Now, this isn't an infantry on infantry fight. You know, units that do magic damage, and there is one, are going to do poorly against the Longbeards. Now, I understand that, and if you see the testing, you can understand that. And in your mind, say, okay, this unit would do better in different situations. So there is some kind of understanding that I cannot test every single variable in a meaningful way. This took long enough with however many tests it was lots. And so I just wanted to get the best possible information, show you how I do the testing, show you what the data looks like, show you, I think testing on both sides of that 401 to 600 gold, testing against a unit they all lose to, and testing against a chaff unit they should all be able to clear out, I think will make the test a little bit more accurate, and will stratify those units a little bit more effectively. Units like spears shouldn't do great in this testing, right? Because spears and units with shields should do effectively a little bit worse, because you should have to give something up to get a bonus versus large. You should have to give something up to get that shield. And that's another thing that this testing actually can show us. When you have factions that are all sort of borked up, like Empire right now, Empire's state troops are all sort of messed up, whereas Skaven and Bretonnia have a very nice stratification, and it's the way it should be, and it's intuitive. Even a new player would be able to understand that concept very easily, whereas a new player to Empire, where their units are all messed up, there's no way they're going to be able to figure that out. And Empire does not get unmessed up after this testing at all. Maybe even more messed up. I don't know. Empire is all sorts of weird when it comes to their infantry. You know, so their only unit that actually sits right where it should be and does exactly what it should do really is the great swords. So anyways, that is the primer. This video is coming. I am not sure exactly how I'm going to break it down just yet to make it, you know, a bottom 10, a top 10, and a middle, 3. That doesn't seem right. A top 5, a bottom 5, and a middle 13. Maybe that'd be right, or I could do a few at a time. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do. I do know that the testing is interesting. It's yielded some interesting results. There's some units that really surprised me, and this is why you do the testing, right? You don't know what's going to happen when you start. I mean, you do know some units. I mean, I've done so much testing. I know Longbeards are the gold standard. I know basic Dwarf Warriors are really solid. I know some of these things already just because I've done so much testing, but some things I didn't know. And there was a couple major surprises. So anyways, I hope you found that interesting, and I hope you enjoy the evaluation of infantry units in an infantry fight from 401 to 600 gold when I put it out there. With that said, have a good one.